UP CrossFit community. I am Dr. Froberg, aka Brent, and I wanted to give this video. John and Ashley, they asked me to produce videos with regards to mobility and recovery so that we can continue to work on those things as we are practicing social distancing in our home workouts. And so excited to be able to provide this for the community. And I wanted to start out by introducing myself for those of you that I don't know. I work for this company called Airrosti, and Airrosti, the name is actually an acronym, and what it stands for is it stands for Applied Integration for the Rapid Recovery of Soft Tissue Injuries. So basically, I work with people with all sorts of soft tissue injuries, from ligaments, tendons, muscles, fascia type of injuries. And for more information, our website, airrosti.com, YouTube video, Facebook, Instagram pages all have some great information. But in the meantime, I wanted to give kind of an introduction to some videos I'm going to be putting out. Each kind of topic that I cover will have a part 1 and a part 2. And in the part 1, I'll basically give an overview of the area that's going to be covered. And then in the part 2, I will be showing the methods that I recommend for that particular area. So part 1 is going to be a bit more technical, kind of information heavy. Part 2 is going to be strictly kind of the methods for performing the recommended things that I'm going to recommend. And some of those things I'll recommend are going to be using like self-myofascial release. I know that's a big word. I'll kind of describe that in a moment. Stretching, simple exercises. And so we're going to migrate over to my other room here. So self-myofascial release, even if you're not familiar with that name, you're probably familiar with a lot of the tools that are used for that. And here are some of those tools. So you see people in the gym using lacrosse balls, right? You see them using foam rollers. Maybe you've seen them using stick-like things, doing tissue work, okay? And essentially, when they're using these tools, what they're aiming to do is they're aiming to get a change in the soft tissue. So usually the muscles and tendons and ligaments. And essentially what happens is if you have certain soft tissues, like let's give for an example the pec muscles. Let's say you have pec muscles that are extremely tight, and the reason why the pec muscles are really tight, there can be a variety of reasons for that. But regardless, if you have a lot of tightness, if you have these trigger points, if you have a muscle that doesn't really move or function properly, that's going to affect all the muscles and joints around that muscle. So that's going to affect the shoulder, the collarbone, and then it's even going to have some effect into the neck and back as well. And that's going to make you more vulnerable to injury, cause pain, dysfunction, weakness. And so by using some of these tools, you can actually get better tone in the muscle, reduce the tightness, get rid of some of the trigger points in that area, and that's going to allow the muscles and the joints around that area to function properly. So you're going to have less pain, be less vulnerable to injury, also going to be stronger, and there's other benefits as well, but those are some of the main benefits. Okay, so a little more detail about these tools. So I imagine not everyone has lacrosse balls, but lacrosse balls are great tools to use. Good alternatives can be a baseball or a tennis ball. The thing about lacrosse balls is they're very firm and dense rubber, and so that allows you to get kind of deep, specific soft tissue work, and so they work really good. They can be a bit intense if you're extremely sore or if you're not really familiar with how to use them. So they, like I mentioned, baseballs are a good alternative. Tennis balls aren't bad. They're a little bit softer, so not quite as effective, but a decent alternative. This here is a large foam ball. I don't expect many of you to have large foam balls sitting around. However, a good alternative is a softball if you have one of those. This is obviously a little bit larger, so it won't be quite as intense when you're using it, but can be really good for certain areas, which I will kind of be demonstrating. And then foam roller. I'm sure many of you have a foam roller. This can be great for kind of more broad, large muscles or areas that are extremely tight. It can kind of be a good tool to use in areas such as quads, hamstrings, glutes, and back, along with some other areas. This device is, it's called a ramrod. Essentially, it's a small rod made out of metal, and this can be used as well through areas of like the calf, quads, hamstrings, neck. And a good alternative to this is a broomstick handle or PVC pipe, or even it's a bit broader, but I've even known people to use like a rolling pin for like baking. Can be a good alternative. And with these tools, you can do a lot of muscle type of work, which we'll be doing a lot of during the videos that I provide. Just want to give a little bit of a disclaimer. So, you know, these tools are meant to be used on soft tissue, so they're not meant to be used directly on the bone. So you want to be careful when getting to areas that are, you know, there's not a lot of tissue between the skin and the bone, such as the elbow, knee, ankle, spine. You also want to be careful working around nerves or blood vessels. And so if you feel symptoms of numbness, tingling, lightheadedness, then you'd obviously want to move off of that area. So just a couple of precautions. They seem pretty obvious, but you know, gotta make them. And yeah, so look forward to doing the videos. I hope to provide you guys with some good content. And as you can tell, I love being on camera, so that's exciting for you and me. But hopefully provide you guys with some good content that can be useful and helpful for you to be able to get some tissue work and recovery mobility done through this process that we're working through.